Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about a pulse rifle that initially I didn't really have any expectations for. I wasn't really excited about this weapon, and although it is craftable, I wasn't in a rush to do so. That is until I decided to just say, hey, let me craft one and level it up, and I tried it out, and I was pleasantly surprised with how good it was, and now I find it to be a staple kinetic option for me. So this definitely exceeded my expectations and was way better than I thought it was going to be. This is the Syncopation 53, and as I mentioned, this is a craftable pulse rifle, and we love to see when good weapons are craftable. And the perks that I put on it was arrowhead break, ricochet rounds, enhanced hipfire grip, and enhanced frenzy, and that is with a +10 to my handling, where the masterwork would be, or enhanced intrinsic, whatever you want to call it. So this is an adaptive 390 RPM pulse rifle, and with my perk selection, it has stats of 56 range, 72 stability, 69 handling, and 48 reload. For the stat modifiers on this weapon, I chose arrowhead break to give this weapon more handling, which is very important to me for the versatility and speed, overall responsiveness of the weapon, but also to take its recoil direction to 100 to make sure that I'm constantly getting very linear, consistent bursts so I can track much more easily and consistently. I also added ricochet rounds for the boost to stability and range. However, high cals are still a good option as well if you like trying to flinch your opponents, but it will cost you 10 stability. Overall, for personal consistency, I valued ricochet rounds more. I also decided to give it the +10 handling because coming from the Battler, I want to have as fast handling as possible. Being able to swap to my special weapon very quickly, or even ADS from the hip very quickly, is very important to me. However, you could also go for something like a little bit more range if you find it's missing that. I found it was pretty fine. This has 19 zoom, or 1.9 times zoom, so I thought that the range was perfectly fine on it already. Or you can give it more stability to have tighter packed shots in your burst perhaps as well. So I haven't really experimented with the 390 RPM adaptive pulses in quite some time, and I don't think these are the most popular weapons in the meta either right now. I think most people that are going to put on a pulse are putting on an aggressive pulse, and the reason being is because after all the buffs they've gotten, they now have a very lethal optimal time to kill and a very lethal body time to kill. The drawback of that archetype though is that if you happen to miss a bullet, or dare I say a whole burst, your time to kill is very heavily affected and it's very punishing. On top of that, they have a pretty slow rate of fire as well. So this archetype though, what is its benefit? They haven't been used often. I haven't used one often, so I really wanted to do the research to see what the point of this archetype is. And this archetype specializes really in consistency, and I love consistency, so this was great. This weapon has an optimal 7-shot kill. That's with 5 crit to body in 0.93 seconds. Now, that's not the most lethal optimal time to kill, but it's still pretty decently competitive. You think hand cannons with their 3 taps have a 0.87 optimal time to kill, so this is just a little bit slower than that. The important part of that, though, is the fact that this only takes 70% accuracy in terms of precision hit ratio to get its optimal time to kill. That's the lowest required critical hit ratio for any pulse rifle archetype. And again, even compared to hand cannons, that's 100% versus 70%. So this is really lenient towards your optimal time to kill. Even though it is a little bit slower, you can guess that you have a wider margin of error to achieve it, so you're going to hit it more often. I think what's even more important than that though, at least when comparing it to other pulses as well, is that the next kill step for this weapon is an 8-shot kill in 3 crit 5 body. So that's a 1-second 8-shot kill with only 38% accuracy. So if you don't hit your optimal, you're very likely, I think it's hard not to hit that 8-shot kill. So again, a very consistent between 0.9 and 1 second time to kill, which is still pretty competitive when, again, that's all you're hitting. Another benefit to this archetype is even though it specializes in great consistency, any little bit of a damage boost will get it to the ability to 2-tap or 2-burst, and that's in 0.6 seconds, so that's very fast. It's a 4 crit 2 body, so 67% accuracy or critical hit ratio for that 0.6 second time to kill. That's very realistic, honestly. That gets stopped at 4 resilience though, so after that point you will have to hit 5 crit 1 body, but that's alright because resilience isn't really being prioritized in this meta. There is a lot of overshields going around though with the high res Titan, so that's something to look out for, but still it's not like you're losing the ability to 2 burst, it's just you have to hit a little bit more. And if you don't hit that 2 burst, you're still going to be able to get what would normally be your optimal time to kill, so you're still getting a pretty decent time to kill overall. Now that allows us to get into why I chose the trait perks I did for this pulse. Considering that this pulse, any little bit of damage gets it to a 2 burst, Frenzy just felt appropriate. Now I didn't originally start with Frenzy. I originally started wanting to use Headseeker because I wanted to double down on that consistency. However, when I tested it, I found that this perk was way too specific. You had to really go body head to get some sort of a bonus to damage that made up for a body shot later on, which was a little too specific for my liking, and it doesn't affect your next burst a lot of the time if you do hit a body shot. The duration is very tight on this perk, so unfortunately it just didn't seem like it was making enough of a difference, especially on an archetype that's already so consistent. Frenzy felt logical simply because this is a perk that boosts our damage and our handling, 2 things I value a lot, just for kind of playing the game effectively. You play the game, you stay alive, boom, you randomly get Frenzy, and well, it's gonna help you get kills. What me and my group of friends love about this perk is the fact that this is a perk, it's a damage boost that helps you get kills from a neutral standpoint, which is very, very good. That being said, Focus Fury can also kind of do that, but this puts a lot more stress on you to land a lot of shots and limits you from going to your special weapon, so I just don't think it's practical at a higher level of play. So Frenzy was the perk I chose, and again, that lends itself very well to the fact that any sort of damage boost is going to get us to that 2 burst. In fact, Frenzy will allow us to do that, so Frenzy was just the most logical option to me after all that sort of testing. Hipfire Grip, you can guess, that is the reason why I use this weapon. I wanted to test out enhanced Hipfire Grip and see how good it was. Does this compare to the Battler? And I can tell you wholeheartedly, yeah, I think it does. From using enhanced Hipfire Grip, it feels very, very similar to the Battler. And now this allows me to have a more kinetic option that's similar to it. But this actually lends itself to this archetype very, very well as opposed to the 450 RPM archetype, because this archetype requires such little headshots. When I'm firing from the hip, I can almost always get that 3 crit 5 body 8 shot kill. It only takes 3 critical hits. And because of that, I can guarantee a better time to kill than I probably would from the Battler because it requires so many headshots. So Hipfire Grip really paired with this archetype really well to make sure that you can actually viably use Hipfire or swap in between your ADS and Hipfire. And like I said, the enhanced Hipfire Grip felt very, very similar and incredibly noticeable, quite similar to the Battler, and it's, again, the big reason why I decided to start using this weapon. So I suggest going for that. You don't have to go for that though. There are other good perks like an enhanced moving target to boost the aim assist of the weapon as well. This weapon has a stock 66 aim assist, which is not terrible. I think that's not bad at all, but it's not quite as high as some other pulses, but this will bring it to 76 without the use of a targeting mod. So that's a good option too, and it buffs your strafe speed. Personally, again, I think the reason to be using this really is enhanced Hipfire Grip, and I've loved it with it. This weapon really makes me excited for more weapons in the future that'll have enhanced Hipfire Grip. I'm really praying that some of the raid weapons do have it, because this feels like it turns any weapon into the Battler, and I love that. I think Hipfire is so good. I think that maybe not a lot of people realize the full potential of Hipfire right now, since they're just now giving us more ways than ever to start building into it. But I think that Hipfire Grip is going to allow you to have free movement. A lot of controller players, I think especially on controller at least, struggle with having that free movement and being able to jump around or strafe adequately or play cover well. and backup from shotguns, this allows you to have that movement that that next level of movement that you might be seeking. On top of it all, this weapon also has the Suro Synergy origin trait, my favorite, which gives it the enhanced handling as well as enhanced unflinching, not even counting your unflinching mod. So this thing really becomes a laser beam, like especially from the hip. When you get the unflinching active, it's like you're just beaming people. Hipfire or ADS, it's so incredibly consistent. Having that unflinching on a weapon that already has such high consistency is so great and incredibly noticeable. And I have to say, especially from the hip, because at the hip, there's not a lot of ways to actually get the benefits of unflinching. The unflinching mods say that you have to be ADS, I'm pretty certain. So this allows you to really stay on target even from the hip, and I absolutely love that. Not to mention that bonus handling is very noticeable. Coming from having, again, snapshot on my Battler, that kind of way to toggle between ADS and hipfire very quickly is quite important to me. And the Suro Synergy trait with that handling boost was noticeable enough that it felt like I wasn't lacking too much in comparison to snapshot on my Battler, which is really good. Anyways, that's everything I've got to say about the syncopation. I love this pulse. Craft it if you like and try it out. I think it's worth trying alone for the enhanced hipfire. Let me know if you enjoy it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.